43 miles of waterfront, 7,500 acres of land. The Port of Los Angeles is the nation's premier gateway for international commerce, and I am delighted to be joined by its executive director, Eugene Seroka. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, Maria.
All right. So, as the executive director of the Port of LA, you obviously knew early on that as the largest container port in North America, it would certainly play a huge role in this pandemic. And then in the first part of March, Mayor Garcetti also charged you with being Chief Logistics Officer for the city. That's a whirlwind of activity in a very short period of time. What were your first thoughts and actions and strategies?
First thought was we had to get to work. And we needed to assemble a team, put a process together, and act very swiftly to help our frontline medical workers and the hospitals that are serving our medically ill and COVID-19 patients. We've heard some really horrible stories of hospitals who are sending staff out to grocery stores to buy hefty bags because they can't get the isolation gowns. Folks that are using masks 4 and 5 times when they're meant to be disposable. So it's just gut-wrenching to hear these stories. Finding alternative manufacturing for the PPE was key. We did not want to step on the hospital's toes. We didn't want to push their priority down with their known manufacturers, so we went out and found others. We felt that a direct-to-manufacturer plan was the way to go. And then we were very fortunate. The Honeywell people were as interested as we were, and we were able to fashion this agreement for 24 million N95 NIOSH certified masks.
All right, so now you have this contract over a period of 2 years for these 24 million. How is that coming about? And when's the first delivery?
Our first delivery of 100,000 masks is due by the end of this month, by May 31st. And they'll slowly ramp up production to a peak of 1.2 million units beginning in November. Part of what the mayor's vision was, using this great port of Los Angeles and LAX airport, could we find a way to really move this product through our 2 great assets here in Los Angeles?
So prior to this moment, or currently in this moment, have a lot of the PPEs been offshore and not domestic? And is the pendulum sort of shifting into more domestic-based manufacturing?
Yeah, I think you're starting to see a shift, Maria, but it was interesting. A number of outlets in mainstream media have reported the amount of PPE that was shipped overseas at a time where many thought we should be preparing here on the ground with our hospitals, doctors, nurses, and technicians. There was one article that described 280 million units of these supplies were shipped in one day out of the United States to overseas markets. The foresight was limited. So I think we've seen a retraction of that, the inability to get products in from overseas as quickly as we needed when there was a paucity of product on the ground was also an eye-opening experience for many. We wanted to build a stockpile right here in Los Angeles, and we're beginning to do just that. There will be a day that we curb and then eradicate this virus. But for the time being, it has great historical value to us. Here in San Pedro during World War II, we were building Victory-class ships for the U.S. Navy. And today, as we battle towards victory against this virus, it brings to mind the successes and all the hard work that went into the last rendition of this victory campaign. And we have a great deal of pride in our history at the Port of Los Angeles, and that gives some of us in this generation great momentum to move forward. When the mayor asked us to take on this logistics role, we basically started up a new city department within 7 days. We put a procurement plan together in about 48 hours while studying the market and seemingly learning by the hour about the nuanced effect of the medical supply chain. When we put everybody together on the ground, not a lot of us knew this medical supply chain, but we all studied, pored over books, read on the internet, learned. More importantly, we talked to the medical experts and those in the supply chain. Mats Feinberg is one guy over at Kaiser that tried to coach us up early on what to look for, what to look out for at the same time.
The efficiency of all of this is almost mind-boggling. Are you stunned by how fast government moved?
I came from the private sector, and it's not surprising based on the talent that we assembled, the willingness and the vision of this mayor, who we all look up to. And in times of crisis like this, we need strong leadership, and I don't think there is any doubt that Mayor Eric Garcetti is just that leader.
And I hope these public-private partnerships would continue after this crisis is over, I would hope.
Yeah, we see three phases right now, Maria. One is where we sit today, and that's a triage phase. We're doing everything we can to get supplies to the front line, like many others are doing right now, too. Second, as we begin to see this illness curbed, we'll have just a moment to catch our breath and then start the replenishment process. We've heard most of the hospitals say they want to get back to a safety stock level or a level of inventory that makes their medical experts feel more comfortable, obviously, than they do today. Once we get our legs back under us, then it's time to fix this medical supply chain. And I think what the city and the port are doing right now by bringing information technology, PO-level data, and the ability to share that information so we see not only the demand signals, but how we can supply quicker and fill gaps will be a real difference maker in the future.
The port being such a critical part of commerce internationally, globally, and locally, I'm sure you've seen some adjustments taking place before even the pandemic hit, obviously.
I lived in China during SARS. I saw firsthand what a viral epidemic looks like, and this will probably be 10 to 15 times greater than what we witnessed during SARS. And without the important preparedness we're seeing now, we have got a long way to go.
Let's kind of jump back a little bit to those that have been affected by the pandemic. What's happening with your employees?
The employee base of 905 people are on the job and working, including also construction and maintenance and construction crews that are out on the job every day. So about half of our workforce is out in the field, day in and day out. They're managing themselves by physical distancing, following Los Angeles Health County Services, as well as the Centers for Disease Control and other medical expert advice every day on the job, to and from and with their families. The other half of the group is mostly telecommuting. We've also given some time to take care of elderly parents, young kids who are out of school with no daycare opportunities. So we're trying to be as sensitive as we can to those groups as well.
Who has felt the most dramatic challenge and pain from what has happened with this entire global pandemic that you've seen from the port perspective?
Right. I think it's hard to single out any one group because we've all felt the pain economically, physically, and mentally in different ways. But our longshore groups, our truck drivers, our other union-affiliated members who do work right here at the port have all seen this downturn and closure of the economy affect their jobs. And to put it very simply, less cargo means fewer jobs.
Right.
Our business through the first 4 months of this year is down about 15%. Our shift work for longshore labor is edging out in front of that just a little bit, down 18% year over year. And every job is painful. That's not happening on these docks today. It impacts our kids, our families, the schooling, putting food on the table. It's painful for this harbor enclave because this is a company town. And the company is this Port of Los Angeles that everybody works towards, whether you own a restaurant, a small shop, the dry cleaners, or you work right out there on the docks. 1 in 9 jobs today in Southern California, our 5-county area, 1 in 9 jobs, or more than 1 million people go to work every day with a job related to this port complex. So as this port goes, so does the economic value of this Southern California region.
Let's end on a positive note. You are a forward-thinking person. You have definitely incorporated things at the port that were very advanced. I'm sure that you have some hope for what is going to play out.
I absolutely do. And I think this is the greatest port on the face of the earth. The engineering marvel that we see today was planned over 113 years. I think it's an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves. Some things you cannot manage. But what we can do is look forward to how we are going to better respond to global needs and our supply chain partners.
Well, Godspeed. And it was really wonderful to speak with you.
Great to see you too, Maria.